So we're recording. We decided to take this idea and make a prototype. Right, one you can actually click on and work through. Okay, so this is what we're making. Okay, if you notice, hover over each section, it slightly animates, right, and it scales up. The design is responsive, and it has advanced selectors on this. And so this is a design I came up with. This is the design that we're going to build. All right, so we have what this is going to look like. So this is the actual exam right there. All right, let's go ahead and go to pen to fork right here. And so you should have two pens open. You should have the pen that you're forking. So go ahead and take this pen and fork it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this pen and fork it. Okay, so fork that pen. And then if you're following behind, okay, we can actually go to our code pen. And so I'm gonna open up our professor pen. So if you're following behind, you can just go to the professor pen and just copy and paste from there. So I'm gonna have two things open. All right, so I'm pretending I'm a student right now. If I'm a student right now, I have the professor pen open, right? And I have the pen that I forked open, right? Which I'm gonna copy out like this, paste into here. All right, and this is, right, you can put something in here like my final. All right, so I got this thing, I'm gonna fork it. Okay. All right, with me, check, check, let me know that you're there. All right, I say check, check a lot in Web 2, so we gotta get used to it. All right, forked final. All right, ooh, I'm running out of time here. We're gonna go fast. All right, of course, no JavaScript in Web 1, so we're gonna go be quick about this, and all the sections are highlighted for you. We're just gonna fill in the gaps. All right, a lot of what you're going to be doing outside of class when you leave here is going to be working on stuff that you can't modify. What? Yeah. Like you're going to have a lot of code that you can't modify that you're expected to be able to design for. And this is this concept of templating, right? And we'll talk definitely more about that in Web 3, but in Web 2, we get you introduced to this idea. You can't touch this HTML. So in some ways, you just look at it. Okay, so here is some boilerplate. Again, we're used to boilerplate because boilerplate can come from our team. They can come from normalize.css, right? And they can come from other different sources. Hey, I'm in lecture right now. You gotta hop out, dude.
What lecture?
Which lecture? I don't know. It's where I bore students. There. All right. He's saying hi. He wanted to say hi. I can't believe he doesn't know what lecture is. I failed as a parent. All right, different class. All right. So this is what we're gonna make. So let's go ahead and step through this. Step 1. So we got the pen to fork 0. Okay. As we saw in previous classes, right? I mean, this is what it's all about, right? There's this website right here called CSS SendGarden, and right here, this code has not changed. It is exactly the same, space for space, byte for byte. Okay. And it's this idea of you take one set of HTML, one single HTML file, but you have many different CSS files, and you're basically putting a mask on the website. You're putting on, right? You're putting on this mask, and then you're putting on this mask, and this mask, and this mask, and look at this. This mask is animating, and basically what's happening here, right, is we're just swapping out the style sheets. But if we take a look at the markup, it's exactly the same. And this is one of the key skills that we're teaching you in Web Design 1 is you should be able to design for anything, even stuff that you cannot edit. And that is an awesome skill set to have. You're like, yeah, I can theme your website. I can put a skin on your website. And and that's what we're applying here. So you can see how different each of these designs are. Okay, and this is a competition that we don't do anymore. But this used to be your final. Your final used to be, submit a design to CSS SendGarden. All right, and if your design was selected, it was a big deal. So, all right, so that's what that is all about. That's what CSS is going. And we looked at that earlier. All right, again, we're going to recreate per screenshots as closely as possible. Do not edit the HTML and do not edit the HTML. All right, so first off, we're going to apply the Solway font from Google to the body element. Okay. so let's go ahead and take care of that. Okay, and we're going to convert the font size from 20 pixels to relative M units. So let's just start there. All right, so from your forked pen, okay, so I can close up the forked pen. I'm gonna work exclusively on the Master Professor pen. All right, this font size has a of 20 pixels. Let's convert this thing. What is it in terms of M's, right? So if you want to chime in, please do. Okay, I'm running out of screen real estate here, so I'm gonna go ahead and make this small. But if I don't see it, just chime in, hit space bar. So again, we're gonna take 20 pixels. We're gonna divide this by 16. 20 divided by our default unit here is 16, right? That's when before we have anything, before we do anything to the screen, it's going to give us our M unit or REM unit. REM is relative M's, but that's a different lecture, 1.25. I say this because sometimes you'll see REM on there. Okay, and REM is basically not based upon the body size, but we're just going to use M for today. So what we're trying to do is going to turn this to 1.25 M, and if our numbers are correctly, if we do this fast enough, 1, 2, 3, paste it in, nothing changes, right? And so that's what we're looking for. All right, so we have 1.25 M. We don't need that asterisk there. All right. And then we're going to go get the Solway font. That tick that you saw and what has changed was that asterisk there. All right, so let's go get the Solway font. Before we can use the Solway font, we're going to need to actually add it to our page. So from our exam, the direct link to our Google Fonts. Okay, and we're going to, there like a link you directly to Solway. We can click on Solway. We can click on select this style. Select this style, select this style. I'm just going to go ahead and take all the styles because I forget which one that we actually need. Then we're going to go to the embed and we're going to simply copy and paste out the @import rule. We can do this both ways. We can copy and paste the @import rule, which is one way. And we can just put that right above in our CSS. So there it is right there. And of course, this is HTML. So we're going to remove the HTML. And then just because we installed the font, we actually have to apply the font. And Google Fonts says to use this, you're going to need a font family of Solway. And we're going to paste that right into there. Right, and that is part 1. Right. In part 1, ready to go. All right, moving on. It says also the Fig caption overrides the inherited font. So Fig caption uses a sans serif and not Solway. So that one is easily enough done. Okay, we're going to select the Fig caption on each of the elements. Right, and we're going to, instead of being Solway, it's going to override this and be sans serif. And if we go down to Fig caption, there they are, right? And watch me comment out that. So we don't want that content to be Solway. We want it to be sans serif, like so. Although it looks really good as a sans serif. We should have kept it as we should have kept it as Solway. Anyway, all right, that's part 1. All right, that's number 1. Okay, and we can double check this against a screenshot. Does your page look like this? Good to go, right? That's all of my exams right there. One section builds upon the other. All right, the next section we're going to do a CSS grid. So what we're going to try to do is create a 3-column grid, right? And each grid is equal width in terms of columns, right? So 3 equal width columns, or sometimes commonly referred to as the Holy Grail layout, because in terms of CSS, it was really, really hard to do. Like I went to a conference that cost a little under $2,000, and one of the presenters worked through all the different ways to do CSS grid. I mean, the 3-column layout, the Holy Grail layout, it was just extremely challenging, and it had trade-offs for each method. So yeah, we've come a long way. So the CSS grid module, be lucky that, be thankful that you don't have to learn all of these workarounds and hacks. CSS grid is awesome. All right, so each column is basically 1/3 of the browser window, right? And at this point, we're not only using the desktop size, no media queries, and we can check it against this screenshot right there. Screenshot at step 2, we want 3 equal columns, okay? The other thing that this exam does is this is the very similar process to how you should be working, Like this is how you should be designing your site. Like let's get this thing working. Let's get all the big stuff. Then we can go in and design the little stuff. Okay. All right. So we need to select our container because we set grid on our container. So in this case, main is our main container here. That's where all of our content is going to be. So we're going to select main, and we're going to change the display for not to block inline, not to table, not to any of that. We're going to change the display to use grid. And then once we do that, we can say, hey, we can do this thing called grid-template-columns. Now, the first time I saw grid-template-columns, I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's very, very verbose. And a lot of, as you can see in your homework, a lot of the CSS grid properties are very verbose, like grid, right? It's grid dash something, grid dash gap, grid dash, something. And we take a look at this, right? Grid dash auto. And all I can say is this is a small inconvenience. This stuff is going to go away. Okay, this is a small inconvenience because eventually we're just going to get grid gap or just gap in general. But for right now, we have to use grid dash gap. And for right now, we have to use grid dash template columns. So don't get hung up on the property names because they will change, right? But conceptually, right, they're pretty much what they're the same. And so what we want is we want 3 columns, right, of equal units. And so grid has this fractional unit or FR. So if we use 100%, now you might think, well, let's go make it 33%, 33%, and 33%. Well, computers are computers. What about the other 1%? All right, make it 33.3. Well, computers are computers. We still have 0.0, whatever the, right? We still got that dangling infinite remainder that goes on forever. And so what we want to say is, well, we don't want to take a pixel and split it in half, right? We don't want to do the subpixels. We want to say is give me a third of this, or give me that thing, right? Give me one proportionate thing of that. And so we want to say give me one fractional unit, right? And that's abbreviated to 1FR, 1FR, and 1FR. And what we love about Firefox, love, so we're going to go ahead and pop this into debug mode, is once we do that, here, whoops, let me make this bigger. Once we do that, grid is turned on, and the Firefox DevTools gives us this awesome, right? So it says grid is turned on here. And then under the layout, oh, this is so awesome, right? See how it's giving you all these tools? It's highlighting the line numbers. It's highlighting the named areas. It's extending the lines infinitely. You can add and remove this. It's basically showing you what is invisible that you couldn't see before, right? And this is one of the premier features right now of this browser in terms of DevTools, right? This is Firefox is done it best, and that's why we're using it this quarter. And if another browser, uses the grid tools and Flexbox tools better, then that's the one we're going to be using next quarter, right? And whatever one is best for a design class, that's the browser we're going to be using. So use these tools, right? But notice when I click out of main, right, I don't get those grid tools, right? Because it's not using grid. Okay, so only in figure. Oh, I'm sorry, if I clicked on header, which isn't using grid. Okay. Good. All right, so use that tool. That's why it's there. All right, so now we have 3 grid templates. Now, this gets repetitive. What if we want to have 2? And what if we want to have 3? What if we have stuff that repeats? So we actually have a repeat function, right? Just like we say background, and we give a background color. Just like we say calculate this number. Oh, yes, we haven't been introduced to that yet. Another class. Okay, but right now we're saying repeat. Okay, repeat what? We'll repeat this thing, 1FR. Well, how many times? 3. 3, comma. So 3, repeat 1FR, how many times? 3. Okay. And I just want you to get used to the syntax because this is the common syntax, right? This is the flexible one. This one allows you to make changes later. You can go, right, I want 4. I want 4 columns. I want 6 columns, right? Instead of rewriting 1FR, 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 right? You're a human. Right? Don't worry about that. Let the machine do that. All right, there it is. We set the grid. Check. Still with me on step 2? Let me know. Good, Callum, Blake, Kayla. All right, let's move into Flexbox. So grid is 2-dimensional, right? Grid has an up and a down. Grid has an X and a Y. Grid has a vertical and a horizontal. Flexbox only takes one direction. Flexbox says, I'm going to align in only one direction, vertical or horizontal. You pick. Okay. So a good rule of thumb is we use grid for the layout of our website, headers, footers, just the general big layout. And we use Flexbox for the stuff inside of our layouts. Okay, the stuff inside of our layouts. That would be with navigation, or in this case, this stuff right here. Okay, so what we want to do, according to step 3 here, is use Flexbox, right, to make them look like this. So an older method, right, and hopefully some web designers aren't using, they're going to wrap each one of these elements inside of a paragraph, or they're going to display block on them, right? And we already saw from previous lectures, right? Well, I'm human, right? And I don't want to come in here and wrap all these inside of a paragraph. Also, we already looked at the pros and cons of making these block, inline block, right? And all those. Right? What you want to be able to do is, as links get added and removed here, your design adjusts, and you don't have to have a phone call in the middle of the night. Okay? And that's what we're looking for. So as people add and remove stuff to this, right, it's going to adjust, and that's what we're looking for, Flexbox. All right. So back into our CSS, right? I think I'm extremely loud this afternoon. Am I loud? Let me know. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and I gave you some code for the figure. It's right there. So the first thing I'm saying here is, set some styling for blah, blah, blah. Set some styling for the navigation. And then display the links vertically, one below the other. Well, easy enough done. So if we take a look at our HTML, it's our nav inside of our, inside of where? Our figures. And that's the wonderful thing about the nav element, is you can have navigation, not just in your footer, right, and sidebar or your main navigation. You can put navigation anywhere, right? An application is essentially navigation. And so our selector is going to be figure space nav, right? And we're going to go ahead and put a background on this of red to make sure that we have the right one. Okay, there, right? We have the right elements. We have the right parent, and we set Flexbox, right? For if we want to act on the child, we're going to act on the parent first in Flexbox, right? So we have this way to select the parent, right? Here's the parent of all the nav. Well, who's the children of the nav? All these anchor links, right? So as children get added and removed from this nav household, okay, our styling is going to adjust, right? So now we got our diagnostic styling there. We're going to simply go display flex, right? Not display block, not display grid, not display inline block, right? All the different display types. We're going to display flex. And then we have this awesome direct property called flex direction, right? And just says, hey, how do you want this to look? Vertical, horizontal, right? In this case, to have it stacked vertically, we have to use this value of column. Excuse me, I was looking for the word. And there we go, right? We have stacked our column, and we can even go column reverse. Right now, Twitter is listed as first, and now Twitter is listed last. Look how we changed this order of something without touching the HTML. There's a web designer out right now, right? That his client said, hey, can you reverse the order of something, anything, the links? And they're like, I got to go in and manually do all this. And the other web designer says, column dash reverse, I'm going to lunch. Oh, you want me to put it back? Cool, column, here you go. I'm going to lunch. That's what we're looking for, right? What is the most future-proof way to make a change? And that's what we're really learning in Web 1, okay? All right, so there is our flex navigation, okay? As we add and remove stuff, this, our navigation will adjust. All right, we're on to step 4, link states. Okay. All right, so for this, I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste this in just for brevity. You're gonna select the link states. Oh, I believe I actually provided you that code. Did I? Yeah, I did. Oh, yep, I provided you the code there. Boy, I was a softie. All right, new Colin. All right. You guys don't know about new Colin, old Colin. All right, let's go ahead and paste this in the master professor pen. These are going to be our default links. And then of course, we know from previous lecture, this is gonna be our Right? Lord Vader's former handle is Anakin, right? Link visited hover focus active or love hate, right? Whichever one works for you, whatever mnemonic device works for you. I know in 2020, we don't have to care about the source order, right? But if you write it the source order correctly, you don't have to worry about older browsers. So it's a win-win. All right, so that's why, remembering Lord Vader's former handle as Anakin is a nice way to think about it. All right, so first, the visited states. I'm going to come right in here. It says, use the following code for link in visited states. Check. Copy and paste. Yeah. And a lot of what I'm checking for and all of what I do is I'm just going to give you stuff to copy and paste because we copy and paste a lot. Now, knowing what you copy and pasted, modifying what you copied and pasted, extending what you copied and pasted, that right there is what you're learning, right? Chris Coyier, one of the co-founders of CodePen says, it is amazing how much copying and pasting I do in a day. Okay, but understand what you copy and paste. All right, and then to have the hover and focus state, here is the code for that. Copy that. All right, hold on. I have another child that wants to say hi. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Did you want to congratulate them?
Yay! Good job.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. They're all clapping for you. Hey, y'all did it. I mean, not to skip ahead, but this is an unprecedented time, and you're gonna get through it. Like you're gonna finish a quarter that none of us signed up for, but we're all gonna get through this together. So that should be commended, and don't overlook that. If I say any more, this becomes professional practice, so I'm gonna stop. Okay. All right. Yes, that's the kind of stuff you get in professional practice. All right. You're your most important project, right? This is a spoiler on professional practice. What's the most important project you're ever going to work on? You are the most important project. And you need to start thinking that way, right? Anyway, different class. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our hover effects now. All right, so if we take a look at the hover effects, let's go ahead, and there's a video at step 5, right? So now we're gonna do this hover effect, and there as we go, we hover over links, that happens. One more time. Okay. We hover over the figure, right? Everything moves, but we can still have hover states on the links. All right, so we know that we're going to be using a transition to make this thing work. Okay, before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at where we're at. CSS Grid is still turned on, and boom, our links are working. I don't know why I just said boom, but we'll take it. All right, so we're gonna have our figure. This is our first frame, right? And then when we hover over it, figure : hover, oh, I spelled that wrong, right? This is gonna be our last frame. That's it, first frame, last frame. All right, so how do you want this thing to look in the last frame? Kind of work backwards. Hint, how many frames of animation do you need? Oh, that was a tough one, right? So what we're trying to do here is saying, like, what is actually changing? Okay, and so you're going to get this code right here from Figma. You're going to get this code right here from a junior designer. You might make that code yourself. You might go into Sketch, Figma, Adobe XD, and just go right click, copy out the code, so you don't have to type it all out. And then you need to be able to apply that code, right? Okay. And I have to show you this. Yes. Yes. All right. I'm getting a silence, so I'm more kind of worried. Oh, look, this is stuff that what do we want to do here? Here, let's say you designed this inside of Figma, right? And you're like, man, this is really cool. How do I get this into my web page? Right? You highlight it and control click, right? Copy and paste as CSS, and voila, voila, right? There's the code to make that happen if we wanted to have that effect. Okay. So, but notice that all that code that we pasted in there, right? It doesn't have anything else on it. It's just the code to make it happen. And you're going to copy and paste this thing that you designed inside of Figma. And this really gets you ready for Web3. It's like, you're going to make stuff. You might design something. Now go make it a reality. You designed something great. Go make it a reality. Right? Otherwise, it's a nice picture. Otherwise, it's a fantasy. All right. So that's what this is mimicking right here. Right? This is saying, hey, you made this thing. Let's go make it real. All right, so we're going to paste this thing on hover like so. Okay, and if we take a look at this, boom, right? It's doing exactly what we needed to. Right on hover, it's highlighting the card, okay, and it's still allowing us to hover over the links. So we're hovered over the card while at the same time hovered over our links. And what I'm doing right now was so complicated long ago, right? And this was all done with one line of code. So I think I see all this. I'm like, wow, we've come a long way as web designers. But so this is cool, right? I'm hovering over this card. I can still hover over the links, basically hovering over two things. Okay, so what we have is our last frame. This is our first frame. And if you want the transition to go both ways, we put the transition on the first frame. All right, and this is where I make sure that you all have not walked away from your computers. What property are we transitioning in 0.5 seconds? What property are we transitioning?
The transform?
Perfect. All right, Andy is spot on, right? Now, a common answer, Andy, would probably be what? Other transform is correct, but what is commonly what people would mistakenly say? What do you think?
Scale, right?
Perfect, scale, right? Because you're like, this makes logical sense, right? What's transforming? The scale. That's what's changing, right? But what we need to say is, no, we have to speak to the browser, and the browser goes, no, scale is a value. I want the property, right? I want the noun, not the verb. Okay, and that's why we have to transform. So that's it, right? All right. Next is step 6, the media queries. Okay, and I'm really hinting at this is how you should approach your final website, right? If you're struggling right now, it's because you might. I've always said if you're bouncing up and down, like if this is how you're working right now, you're bouncing up and down on your style sheet, right? Already this is a little bit annoying to do, is you're not structuring it correctly. So I would say step away from your computer, get out a sheet of paper and write out what order things are going to be done and how those things are going to be inherited and how that cascade is going to work. And by writing it down in words on a sheet of paper, I think you'd be surprised how much faster and less and more and less error prone this step is. Okay. And I say all this because that's how JavaScript works, right? A lot of what we do in JavaScript is we write very little JavaScript. We spend a lot of time figuring out what's going to be our game plan before we start typing in here, because JavaScript is a very unforgiving language, right? HTML and CSS, very, very forgiving. Okay, what do I mean by very, very forgiving? Well, if I type in capital G-U-R-E, right, it's still going to work. Forgiving. It's a forgiving language. That's what we love about HTML and CSS. They're forgiving languages, right? They're not too strict. Okay. All right. You can also do this to annoy your colleagues and friends. Just do stuff like this, just to upset them. Like, ah. All right. Let's get into the media queries on step 6. We're almost there. Hang tight, hang tight. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the media queries. But what I'm going to, first off, let's go ahead and take a look at what needs to be done. So at desktop size, it'll look like this. At tablet size, it's going to go to 2. And then at mobile size, I believe it shrinks to 1. Okay, so mobile 1, tablet 2, and desktop 4. I believe that's what it came down from Marcom at Eastern. All right, and so for this, right, we're just going to copy and paste our media queries. So let's do 1, okay, and then we'll work our way on through for the rest. All right, so first off, we're going to put in the media query for the mobile. All right. Oh, I just gave away the answer here. All right, so at media, at what size? At this screen size. All right, this is very verbose. Okay, this syntax still bugs me to no end, right? But it's what we have, and hopefully it'll change soon enough. But this is supposed to read like a sentence, right? So query the media, right? Ask a question, what media is this? And a lot of what our media is saying isn't just, right? Because there is print is a media type. There's also projector as a media type, okay? And there's a lot of rumors right now around this. Let it sink in. It's not gonna happen, by the way, but can't wait till it does, because I'm tired of, right? So is Apple gonna release glasses? I don't know. I think it's very, very unlikely. I think we're way, way off, right? I'd like to be wrong, but we're way off, right? And that's the type of media. Now, how do you say how do you know what type of media it is? Well, okay, by how wide it is. Okay? And so in this case, the minimum width is going to be 320 pixels, right? And then we're going to ask ourselves, well, what needs to change at 320 pixels? And we can do this by coming into our beloved dev tools and say, go ahead and pick any phone, right? Okay, and says what needs to change at this size. And so what we're going to do here, okay, because if we notice here that it didn't make it responsive, right? Nobody wants to scroll horizontally. Okay, there are very few websites can get away with horizontal scrolling, right? When's the last time any of y'all did horizontal scrolling? Like, that was awesome. I can't wait to do that again. Okay, so that was a joke that no one understood. Okay. All right, so this isn't working. Okay, so we need to turn on our media queries to get that. So all right, so what needs to change? Oh, the main needs to change. That's the only thing. And that's all a media query is doing, right? And they're nested inside of this. So you have a rule inside of a rule, okay? And a common mistake in media queries is either deleting that curly brace or deleting this curly brace, okay? You're putting many rules inside of a query. So right now we have one rule, right? There could be 2 rules and 3 rules, okay? Common syntax error. And how do we fix common syntax errors? Go into here and go analyze CSS. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and break this. And we're going to come here, analyze CSS, right? And then look, unclosed block. Use these tools. Okay, if I was really mean, I would not tell you these tools exist and go he, look at you struggle on this. Okay, I don't want you to right, I don't want your time being spent chasing a curly brace. I want your time to be spent obsessing about what colors things should be, what typeface to use, right? What mood and tone do you want your website to have? That's where I want you to spend your time. Okay. All right. And we can go analyze CSS. All right, check. Oh, empty block. Ooh, it's rough. Okay, if you've done any programming before, right, you know about your compiler, different class. All right, and then so we want main to change. What about main do we want to change? We want the columns to change. Columns, instead of being, let's see here. Let me go ahead and refresh this. Instead of being 3 columns, right, on mobile, I want it to be 1. Okay. All right, we take a look at this and refresh this, and now it is indeed 1. Okay. And everything is stacked, right? And we no longer have that horizontal scrolling. Now we just wash, rinse, and repeat. For brevity's sake, I'm going to go ahead and copy this and just paste it in. I'm going to change the width to 768 pixels. Okay. And again, the dimensions you pick are up to you, right? And your audience and your customer base and your clients and you know what design teams you want. Instagram doesn't have like website features. That's a conscious decision. Instagram doesn't have an iPad app. That's a conscious decision. And when you decide, you know, this is the devices that I'm going to support, and these are the widths I'm going to support, that's a conscious decision, right? And so that's where all these numbers come from. Okay. And if you take UX2, right, you'll talk more about how to read data and understand data to make better decisions about this. But for Web 1, I just say, you know, mobile, tablet, desktop. Make it super easy. All right, and at that size, we want it to be 2 columns, right? And we can do this the easy way and just go 1FR, 1FR, but this is problematic long-term, so we should probably use repeat. Okay, how many times we want that to repeat twice? What do we want to repeat twice? 1FR. Okay, and then we're going to take this, wash, rinse, and repeat, and do this for, what did I say there? 1024. All right, hang in there, we're almost done. Right. And 1024. And that's going to be 4 columns at 1024. All right, now our website is responsive. There it is at mobile, right, at desktop, right? I mean, at tablet, okay, and then at mobile. Good. And you'll notice the design breaks right there, right? So 750 should be, there should be a media query around this size, right? And we would never have understood that. And I'm saying this because, you know, if you want to add in a fourth media query, please do so. Right? Again, media queries come at the end, and they're just the fine tuning. Okay, fine tuning. If you're spending all of your time writing media queries, you need to rethink all of the stuff above it. All right, so those are our 3 media queries. All right, let's go ahead and talk about advanced selectors. Okay, all right. So what it did was, you know, there's a section in your homework about, you know, CSS advanced selectors. And what we're going to do is this. Okay. All right, and I provided all the links, and then I provided links to other videos and so what we want to do is put in the links, all right, in each of the sections there, right? Where it says website, email, download, PDF, you know, and Twitter. And we want to be able to make it flexible. So where am I? That's there. I've done Figma, done that step. All right, so a problematic approach to this would be to try to do all the links in all the sections. First step, take one. Just get one working, okay? So we're trying to get these links right here. Okay? And if we forget what these links are, we just run our dev tools and we inspect it and say like, right, which link is that? Right there, right? And that element, and that's already selected for us. Oh, that's the nav inside of the fig caption. Perfect, okay? Or the anchor link inside of the A, excuse me, right? That's what we want. Look how it's right there already for you. And so what we need to do is just go ahead and copy that. Okay. All right, so first off, let's go into the professor pin and go nav space A, and let's just get the anchor links. And we do our, oh, this is the last time I get to do this before you all go on break. All right, background Coral. So great, get all of the links. That's the first place to start. Make sure you can select all of the links. And so that means that code is correct. That code doesn't have to change. Right now we just need to add on to that code. Okay, it's this process of elimination is one of the things that you're learning here. All right, and so CSS from your homework has an attribute selector. And if we take a look at any link, like right here, it has attributes. In this case, it has the href attribute, and http ewu.edu is the value for that. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and select the href attribute. Okay, and notice that they all turn to, they're still all Coral now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to filter on down and get more specific. And if we go here, right, and we actually type in something like mail to, watch what happens here. Okay, this is basically only selecting the mail to links. So what we want to do instead, right, is not just get the mail to links, right? What we want is now we're going to do what's called pattern matching. And what you want to be able to do here is this is going to get you ready for Web 2 here, is you're basically kind of being a computer and saying like, well, what is unique and different about each of these? Well, what is the same is they each have an href and they all have a value. What's different is the value of those. And so inside of CSS, there is something called an attribute selector. And what we can do with attribute selectors is we can filter down the values. Now, there are many different ways to filter this on down, right? And character matching and regular expressions and working with strings of text is essentially what we're doing in JavaScript. Just strings of text. And if we take a look at this, we basically have a collection of text. The collection of text is the D, the A, the T. The collection of text is the A, the T, the T. And each one of these is its own separate entity. And so now knowing that, what we can do is we can say, just give me this thing that has the exact value match. Or give me the thing that might contain the word foo somewhere. Right? Or give me the thing that has foo at the end. Right? And we use a $sign to say that. Or give me the thing that starts with foo and we have to use the caret. And so basically you have 7 ways to look for text inside of a value. And I do not want you to overlook this. This is a big deal. CSS is giving you basically a mechanism to filter out the value of something. That is awesome. Like CSS is reading HTML and saying, I'm going to filter out or parse, right? To use Web 2 terms, I'm going to parse this information. Okay, and parsing is what some of you are doing or not doing, right? I do a lot of talking, and what you understand, what you take away, is what you're parsing out. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the asterisk, right? And so basically, our CSS dictionary says if you use the asterisk, right, anytime it's going to read the value. In this case, the value is foo, and if it sees foo anywhere in that value, that's the thing it's going to select. So if we come back to our selector here, we're not, if we want all the Eastern links, well, what's unique about the Eastern link? Well, if we use HTTP, that shows up somewhere else. If we use www, that shows up somewhere else. Really, what's unique about this? It has EWU in it, right? And so if we take a look down here, look, now it has the EWU email. And so what we're going to need to do is override that later on. Okay, so these two links have the same email address. Okay, so let's take care of that. We're going to do this background of Coral. Let's go ahead and copy this selector again. Okay, and now we're going to go after the mail to links, and we just go for mail to. Okay, and let's make that background, I don't know, cornflower blue. All right, so now we've override that specificity. Okay, so now we're going to grab this and paste that in there. And we're going to search for stuff with just the PDF. All right, so give me anything that has a PDF. PDFs are typically what? Red, orange, red, that'll work. Okay. And so I really do work with all these, just if I can just change the background color, I can change anything. Okay, go wash, rinse, and repeat. And what was the last link I actually looked for there? I believe it was Twitter. And so we're just going to look for the word Twitter. Right, and this can go green, or green yellow. Okay. All right, not to repeat a story that I've told once before, right? I had a former student go in, work for the online directories, right? Basically the white pages, and she's like, "I'm done." Like, no. Old intern went through and changed each one of these links. She goes, "No, you just use attribute selectors. What's the next task?" It took the other intern all semester. Right? You can be the person that goes and select each one, right? Or we can let machines do what they're best at, right? Pattern matching, right? All the repetitive stuff. All right, if we can make a background color on this, we can sure as heck put a background image. All right, with me on this so far? All right, for the one for website, there is the image right there. And if we can do one, we can do them all. Okay, no one responded, so I guess I've lost you all. All right, the background is not going to be Coral. The background is going to be this image right there. Okay. From your homework, that's how you can load in a background image. And by default, it repeats. And so what we want to do is we want to continue to add on. I'm going to do a weird formatting just so you can see this, right? So add in this URL and say no dash repeat, do not repeat. And then we can also specify its position all the way to the left. And then vertically, we want it to be centered or center. Okay, refer to your textbook for that. And there we go, right? We have our website. And you'll notice that the icon is right above, right below, excuse me, right? The image. And just to move it over, all we need to do to our content is nudge it. We just need to nudge our content, and that's where the box model comes in. And we can just go ahead and select our nav and just nudge it over. All right. But I think you got that. Good. And if we can do one, we can do them all. But you all, I think we're good. Anything else? Am I missing something? Okay. All right. Whew. We did it. Okay, folks. I'm gonna stop recording. Be on the lookout for, I will